welcome. I'm Kathy Cronin, and joining me is Reverend Linda Burdett.
Hi.
And together we are presenting an 8-week series of writings from the Unity booklet In the Garden, Lent 2025, about rebirth and renewal. The booklet can be ordered from the Unity website to read it yourself or along with us. So today we're covering the writings for the third week of Lent, exploring the story of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane and his supreme act of release, and the daily topics of human qualities that might be ripe for release and suggest ways to let them go. For those who saw the previous tapings, you're familiar with this introduction. We are repeating it for any newcomers if you missed the videos. It can be found on YouTube. If you missed the videos, it can be found on YouTube, searching Unity Church of El Cajon. We want to note that all scriptures quoted are from the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible. So Easter takes many of us from the last of winter to the first of spring. During this time, we witness the rebirth and renewal of nature, bringing new hope every year. At Unity, the season puts us in mind of a garden, which might be the perfect image to describe our spiritual work during Lent. Rather than thinking of Lent as a time of sacrifice, in Unity, we see it as a period of consciously releasing what we do not need. We release negative habits or traits crowding out our good. Let's affirm this Lenten season will refresh your spirit, so at Christmas you will joyously celebrate the divinity rising within you. We hope you will join us each week and invite your friends to take time during this Lent as we journey into rebirth and renewal. And with that introduction, I want to turn this over to Reverend Linda to cover the topic for the third Sunday of Lent.
Thank you, Kathy. And I believe it's at Easter we will experience renewal. But I too am looking forward to Christmas. Thank you, Kathy.
I just want Christmas.
Me too.
Well, boy, that's year just flew by.
Yeah,
Thank you.
true enough. Okay, so it is my joy to read for you this article written by Reverend Alan Davenport for the third Sunday of Lent, March 23rd, 2025. And this is called Jesus Honored His Calling. One of the reasons people sometimes hesitate to ask for divine guidance is because they fear what they might be called to do. It could overturn their comfortable lives, yet many of us have stories of first resisting an idea that turned out to be exactly right for our spiritual path. As we explore the story of Jesus praying in the garden on the night of his arrest, we hear him asking for guidance from Matthew 26:39. My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not what I want, but what you want. In the first part of the prayer, Jesus expressed reluctance by asking whether this was really his to do. It was an understandable human response to an unthinkable situation. Maybe he wouldn't have to go through with what he saw coming. Yet in that very same sentence, he immediately released any doubts or questioning and moved into surrender. Yet not what I want, but what you want. In Matthew, Jesus repeated this prayer 3 times. In Luke's version, Jesus was so distraught that his sweat became like great drops of blood falling on the ground. And that's from Luke 22:44. An angel appeared to give him strength. Jesus knew that under the oppressive Roman regime occupying Judea, his teachings seemed radical and were easily misunderstood. While his primary teaching was to love one another, it was interpreted by the authorities as rabble rousing or even blasphemy. Despite the danger, Jesus, a few days earlier, had ridden into Jerusalem on a donkey with his followers shouting hosannas and waving palm fronds. At the same time, on the other side of town, the Judean governor, Pontius Pilate,
Pontius
I
Pilate.
don't know that. What is it, Kathy?
Pontius Pilate.
Pilate, thank you. It's not spelled that way. Was
No.
entering was entering Jerusalem in a military procession with pageantry fit for an empire whose leader called himself the Son of God. Jesus didn't change his message. This was the week he overturned tables in the temple. In John, it was the week he raised Lazarus from the dead. He didn't hesitate to draw attention, teaching, attracting crowds, and performing miracles, and letting the chips fall where they may. Jesus was carrying out what we can clearly see was his soul's purpose, but he didn't get to skip any of the human steps, and neither do we. Living a spiritual life does not exempt us from difficult experiences, including those that are unfair and painful. Jesus might have understood the spiritual reasons behind adversity more clearly than many of us in our most trying times, but we can trust the spiritual reasons exist. We see in Jesus' experience that none of us get to avoid human hardships, even when we know our oneness with the divine. There was no God in the sky willing Jesus into crucifixion. His reference to what you want meant the soul plan worked out for his life. The dangerous mission he had accepted on earth, his calling to live and teach in this place and time. His example for us is to accept our divine callings and play them out to the very end, trusting that our impact will be larger than ourselves. Wow, what a powerful reading and what a powerful knowing. And I know that many of us feel that we are here in this day and age in 2025 because this is where our soul calling is playing out. And it's not what we expected it to be. But we can trust that we have all the gifts we need in our connection to the divine, and that we too live a life larger than what we are. That's all I've got, Kathy. How about you?
Yeah, this is very powerful because it's like that fulfilling what our purpose is. And as you went through reading this and Jesus knowing that, what his purpose was, his divine purpose here, and what he had to go through and the challenge that he faced in doing that. And I thought the thoughts that came to mind were people like Martin Luther King, who wanted to see some righteousness and the risks he took with that to speak out, to be a voice for those who were oppressed. When you think about, other leaders that, were in Mandela, who was in prison for speaking out, and others who were saying that we, we need to do something because the whole thing is what is larger than ourselves. What is the things that we need to be doing? Where do we need to be speaking out? Who do we need to be defending? If it's the small children that we need to protect and be a voice for them. If somewhere God gave us a purpose, and it's finding that purpose of who we become the voice for. And sometimes in some of those situations, by speaking out, it costs them their death, like Jesus doing, his work of what he felt was here to do. But it left a larger picture that today, we still, many follow Jesus and his teachings. Many, the civil rights movement by Martin Luther King speaking out, the changes that happen in other areas of the world where people stood up against oppression. And there is so much that we are being called, like you said, in 2025. And it's like for me to find that calling, to not be afraid. And it was a conversation recently that I had with my husband. It's like, I want to call attention to myself, and he wants to just stay quietly in his own little zone. But I feel like I have a purpose. God gave me this purpose. I did this back in the 70s. I was out there marching and, for women's rights and the changes we got, back then. And it's like feeling like that's all being taken from us. So it's sort of like I still need to have a voice. It's like he's afraid that I'm going to end up in jail somewhere, but I just feel like that there's something bigger than myself here. It's not about drawing attention to me. It's about bringing attention to something greater and bigger for future generations. And the question I always ask myself, is this the world we want to leave for our children and grandchildren? And I just feel like we've done them a disservice if we don't stand up and speak out. So it's important. And those are my thoughts on that. And I keep saying, God, show me what my purpose is today. So each day I get a message or I get guided. So I know if we ask God, today, show me what my purpose is, we will know it. Jesus knew his. Jesus knew what his divine calling was. Some of us still are trying to figure it out. So, and every day I just try to say, what is it I'm supposed to do? So with that thought, I want to move us into the daily readings for the week. And I will do Monday, March 24th, 2025. So today I release negativity. Some days, negative thoughts seem to overwhelm me. I find myself judging, replaying past mistakes, and getting lost in negative self-talk. I get caught up in the negativity around me and lose sight of what truly matters. But when I pause and close my eyes, I remember that I can choose to shift my focus. I can go within, focus on my breath, and listen to the still small voice that reminds me all is well. With each inhale and exhale, I reconnect with the peace of God. As I sit in the silence, I watch my negative thoughts drift away like passing clouds. I open my eyes to the smile of a loved one, the kindness of a stranger, or a gorgeous sunset. I begin to cherish the limitless beauty in my world. And this was written by Sarah Crawford, and scripture writing that she included was from Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. So today, as I release negativity, I affirm that thoughts and embrace peace within. I release negative thoughts and embrace peace within. So I got very little, to say about this because it is about going into the silence to release the negativity. And I always remember a friend in a book study group that I was in. hers was always when she had negative thoughts, she'd go, cancel, cancel. And so, or sometimes I go, stop the monkey mind, when I'm in negative thoughts. So, it's just finding a way to take that negative and, like it says, I release negative thoughts and embrace peace within. If I can release the negativity, I find peace. So, Linda, what do you have to share?
Um, what do I have to share? I love the reading. I also enjoyed your comments, and I believe releasing negativity is an essential component of us completing our soul mission and doing the work that is ours to do in this day and time. I believe many of us can unite in the knowing that our mission is to bring forth a greater expression of the divine into manifestation. And doing that means we side and offer love into the world. But if we're doing that with negativity, it's going to be tainted. Um, I'll love you if, or we can love only, and putting those judgments, those barriers that negativity creates, taints the gift that we're bringing into manifestation. So I believe releasing that negativity is essential to moving forward in our own soul development. So, thank you for sharing that. Here's another release that's going to help us move forward in our soul development. For Tuesday, March 25th, we are offered the opportunity to release self pity. And this was written by Reverend Norma Iris Risota. I release self pity. Have you ever heard anyone saying words such as, they have mistreated me. They are the ones to blame for my failure. These words speak of victimization and self pity. They also speak of separation and a lack of understanding ourselves as children of God. Growing up, some of us were lied to by adults. You don't deserve, you don't have, and you don't know, they said. We believed them. Those words may have molded us as weak people, ignoring our capacity to release and overcome any insecurity or loss. Instead, we ended up feeling pity for ourselves. However, our truth is that we are God's children. We have the capacity to be free. Our essence is about having courage and being what we are, God's image and likeness. We are not victims. We are the crown of creation. This is our time. Let go of self pity. Be free to be. Our scripture is from 2 Timothy 1:7. God did not give us a spirit of cowardice, but rather a spirit of power and love and of self discipline. Our affirmation is, I am worthy of love and respect. I celebrate my uniqueness. I am enough just the way I am. Wow. I am enough just the way I am. That speaks to me so much of self-acceptance instead of self-pity. And once again, I use gratitude in this. I may not be perfect yet, but I'm not done yet. And I can sit and complain about, oh, I don't have, I can't do, they made me. Or I can claim my true heritage. I am the child of divine, and I am expressing divinely. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Linda. The releasing of self-pity is the victim, releasing myself as being a victim in a circumstance, and recognizing that I am taking on a victim role here. And it's like I'm on the pity pot. And so it's sort of like you gotta, get off the pity pot and get on with your life. And I really like the affirmation about, as I celebrate my uniqueness, I am enough just the way I am. And if I can remind myself that I am enough, because a lot of times when I'm in self-pity, it's I'm feeling not good enough stuff and not, worthy of things. So, and little things can trigger that, even though we do all our spiritual practices and we know them all, it's like that diet, you know what you need to eat and you know what you should avoid, but there's that point in time that you can just get tempted back into feeling, poor me. And so it's sometimes what just came to mind, flash in my mind, is Eeyore. Thank you for noticing me. It's like it's sometimes it's like I have to, if I hold that in my mind is when I'm in self-pity and I picture Eeyore there, it just, can make me chuckle about it and get me out of feeling that. So maybe having some picture or something that reminds you, of even a mental visualization of something where, it just is where you recognize you're in the victim stage and you pull yourself out of it by just laughing at yourself. It's like, I am enough, just who I am. God made me in his image and likeness. And, I'm just the perfect me, whoever that is. So with that, I want to go on to our next day's reading, which is for Wednesday, March 26th. And today I release pessimism. This was written by Reverend Todd Humphrey, and he writes, Murphy's Law, the adage that anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and at the worst possible time, directs the mind to look for and expect events to be bad, wrong, or even evil. Pessimism, focusing on the appearance of anything labeled negative, eliminates joy, drains hope, and misguides faith. Releasing pessimism allows a view from a new perspective. A pessimist sees a partially filled glass of water as half empty. An optimist sees it half full. By releasing pessimism, we can simply feel gratitude for the refillable glass and an abundance of cool, clear water. Releasing pessimism is a practice of mindfulness, to deliberately choosing thoughts focusing on good, love, health, and wholeness, and prosperity. A positive experience of faith, hope, joy, and love are fully present with these thoughts held in mind. And the scripture writing is from Philippians 4:8. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. And to affirm today, I look for love in every experience. So, pessimist, I've been known to be pessimistic about things, but I also quickly turn it to see the positive. What could be the possible outcome from that? And it's like, so my glass is only half full. I still have a half a glass cool, fresh water to quench my thirst. It doesn't have to be filled to the top. So I like to take that, the whole sense of mindfulness is making mindfulness an appointment of my daily practices, is that being mindful of what it is I'm thinking. Am I going down that rabbit hole of negativity and pessimism, or am I seeing the light and the love and the joy surrounding me and the support? And it's all a matter of choice. And what we think we hold in our consciousness is what we manifest in our life. So I choose to be more positive and to see a brighter version. I will look, I will expound upon some pessimism along the way, but I can pull myself out of that faster than I used to. So Linda, your thoughts?
Pessimism. I love the image of the cup. Somewhere along my adventures in life, it was pointed out to me that the cup is refillable. And when I think about, is the cup half empty? Is it half full? It doesn't matter. The cup is refillable. And I really try and hold on to that. When something happens, I try to react with this statement, well, that happened, instead of, oh no, it's awful, or oh yay, it's great. And I'm reminded of the story of the Chinese farmer who all the events happened and the neighbors ran over and said, oh, that's awful. And the farmer responded with, we'll see. And then, oh, that's good. And the farmer responded with, we'll see. um, and stayed in that knowing that this happened, there could be good, there could be bad. When I get judgy, I can be very pessimistic, and I try and cancel those thoughts out. I try not to express them. I try not to uh, speak them out loud or act on them, and wait until I'm in balance and remembering that God is in it all. And I am blessed with a circle of friends who do not even hesitate to tell me, well, that's very negative. You're being very pessimistic. And I'm so grateful for the people around me who love me enough to call me on my stuff when I start acting out in a pessimistic direction. I get a lot of feedback to pull up and correct that in myself. It turns out people don't like to be around me when I'm pessimistic. And, thank God for that because I don't like to be around me when I'm that way either. And calling my attention to it gives me the opportunity I need to make a course correction and remember divine order. All things are as they should be, whether I see it that way yet or not. Okay, so I'm going to move us up to Thursday, March 27th on our journey through Lent, where we have the opportunity, this is a big one, to release competition. And we'll be guided on our ability to do that by the words of Reverend Bill Englehart. Here's what he offers us. I release competition. The very construct of competition implies that we reduce our life experience to either being very happy some of the time when we win, or sad most of the time when we do not win. Competition is exhausting. Let us strive to be the best we can without the need to best others. In this mindset, we can celebrate every time we do our best, regardless of the outcome. We can also celebrate and support others to do even better. Olympic athletes who surely want to win still cheer on other participants. Notice I did not say competitors, but participants. If we approach life with a competition mindset, we end up with winners and losers. When we see each other as fellow participants, we can cheer each other on regardless of the results. Life is much sweeter when we celebrate everyone without having to best them. And our scripture is Luke 22:27. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. Powerful scripture. And we are invited to affirm, I celebrate and support all other participants in life as we journey together on the road to personal fulfillment. Okay, I'm so happy I got to read that one. Um, the whole somebody has to win and somebody has to lose mindset really grates on me. I feel like if somebody loses, we all lose. And the spirit of competition is contrary in my mindset, in my worldview, to oneness, to the divinity of all. And I'm sure we'll get comments on this, but that's the reason I cannot support in any way, shape, or form sports, the he who wins and they who lose. I don't honor sports with any of my attention at all, with the exception of things like surfing, where you're besting your best time, not the other people around you, where you're competing with yourself, where you're working to be the best you can be and not in competition with anyone else. For me, if somebody loses, we all do. And that's my offering on competition. And I know my worldview is not shared by all, but I love this opportunity for all of us to release competition. Kathy, I'll give it to you.
Well, thank you, Linda. And I think that's an interesting one about the sports where it's like there's a winner and a loser, because if we look at that in life, is that anything you go through, there's a winner and a loser. Whether it's for a job, a promotion, or even getting a job, someone gets a job and the others don't. I liked how he put in the fact about the fact that he didn't say competition, but participants. And the thing is that looking at the entertainment of the sports world, it is a competition. It's like one will walk away with the higher score than the other one. But it also, in some part of competition, pushes us to excel, to strive for our best, to do our thing. And so if we can look at it, and I'm thinking of in the Olympics, it's like there's not a winner takes all. There's, the three things, but it's, you're rated on your performance, and there's a sense of striving for your best and doing that things. It's like there's no winner or loser in that they participate. If you can look at it as they're participating in their love of that sport, and they're giving their best into it. And some days their best may not bring them out on the top. Sometimes they may not be doing their best. It helps us, I think, in a sense, it stimulates us to grow. Sometimes healthy competition stimulates us to grow. Because if we're not striving and thriving, then we're diminishing. And it sort of is like I have never been a competitive person, because I've never been in regards where competition really comes out is in sports, and I've never been an athlete. So I never ever even placed in anything worthwhile in that. However, when I was in college, I was part of the tennis team, and I was trained by a tennis pro. And the aspect of that was what I learned was to improve my game, I had to compete against somebody who was a little better than I was, rather than playing against somebody who had less skill was not going to improve my skills set. Not that I ever, came out on top or anything like that, but I got better in the sport and better in the game. So it's sort of like I just don't matter to get into competition. And as I watched the Super Bowl recently, I was in the sport. It was like, one team's going to get a few more points than the other team, and I'm open to either one, winning this because they have through the season have given their best to get to this stage of this competition. So it's sort of like I can honor both sides of them, and they're all winners because they have done what they're in a sense their purpose. So that's my thought on competition. But if you're so set, um, there may be people that just continuously that are always competing against somebody. All I'm going to say is stop it. Just stop it
Well,
because it just is a matter of it doesn't do your soul good to always feel because you can be on the losing end of it. So
and Kathy, I'm going to break protocol a little bit and make another comment on this before you take us into the next day. I believe that we are often raised to compete and think competitively. I think it's in the culture. You should be as skinny as that person, and you should compare what size you wear with what size someone else wears. One of my favorite stories, and it's from a different culture, and I've heard it in different forms, but I'm going to share it real quick before we move forward, has to do with a couple of kids or young people who were serving in the Peace Corps, and they were in a little village in Africa, and they had been gifted with presents from their families in America, full of candy and fruits and things that they loved. So they set all these things in a basket for the children and told them, we're going to have a race. Whoever gets to the tree first gets this basket with all this candy and all these treats from America. And the kids got together and held hands and ran together to the tree where they shared everything that was there in the basket. Well, the young Americans were so confused by this. Why would you do that? And the kids told them through an interpreter that if they had something and didn't share it, they wouldn't enjoy it. That the only way they could enjoy the gifts that they had won was by sharing it with all the other children. Just kind of a different cultural mindset that for me, I see that as a release of competition. Okay, enough of competition. Please take us into our next release.
okay, well, I'm going to take us into Friday, March 28th, and I release procrastination.
Hmm.
Have you ever needed to complete something but said to yourself, I'll do it later? This widespread behavior, referred to as procrastination, is highlighted by the age-old saying often attributed to Benjamin Franklin: don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Today, make a conscious decision to overcome the cycle of procrastination. Set a powerful intention to focus and take the following inspired action steps. Turn within to become aware of the thoughts and beliefs connected to your past patterns of resistance to getting things done. Ask for divine assistance to take the first step to accomplish any desired task. Trust that you are being easily guided in completing the next steps. Appreciate and acknowledge your willingness to change old patterns of behavior. And this was written by Veronica Walker Douglas, and the scripture quoted was from 1 Corinthians 14:40. But all things should be done decently and in order. So today, affirm, it is finished. Procrastination is my middle name. This is a good one. I'm glad I'm reading this because I have a tendency to procrastinate, and especially since retiring, as there's always tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, and the next thing I know, I'm on Friday, which is where I'm at. I'm on Friday. The week has gone by, and I'm on Friday. Not that Friday means any different than Monday when you're not, in the weekends when you're retired, they're all run together. But it sort of gets to the fact that now I'm at the end of the year, and something at the beginning of the year that I had really set out that I was going to get done hasn't even, may have been started and hasn't gone any further. So my way of overcoming procrastination is I need checklist. And the start of this year, I had to go back to doing my monthly calendar with the things that I regularly have to do, and then the meetings and appointments and the other activities and the things I want to get done. And for me, having that monthly calendar, and I put it on my refrigerator, and just putting that little check mark there just gives me so much fulfillment that I did what I was supposed to do. And it pushes me to say, don't put off till tomorrow. Let's get this done today. And it sort of is like, these are the things. And it also helps me doing this. I started doing this back in 2020 when I was, we were at home, and it was like, okay, this is what I need to do. And I find that my life is, much more orderly. As the scripture says, things are done decently and in order. I'm fulfilling, and at the end of the day, when I go to sleep, I feel like I accomplished something rather than just wasted my day away. So those are my thoughts on procrastination. I still procrastinate, but having that checklist has helped me stay more in touch with getting things done orderly. So Linda, your thoughts?
On procrastination, I share pretty freely and frequently that I am in recovery from my own personal addictions. And one of the ways I stay in recovery is by understanding my relapse warning signs. And my number one relapse warning sign is procrastination. I have been able in the past to procrastinate until my problems have gotten so big and piled up on top of each other so hard, and I'm right on top of the deadline. I can't possibly do them all, so I might as well go use. And that's the dynamic that has led me to relapse. Well, not in the last 28 years, thank you, but before that, I continuously relapse through procrastination. So I have learned not to procrastinate. And that's a lofty statement. I'll give you a couple of the ways that I have done this. I have learned not to say I have to, but I get to. And that simple change, that simple switch really changes the energy that I go into with anything. Instead of I have to go to the doctor, it's I get to go to the doctor, or I have to finish this report, or I have to meet this deadline. It's I get to. I have also learned a new form of currency there are things that I must do, I must accomplish by a certain time to be able to have the life that I desire. And there are things that I would much rather do. So I have learned to buy the things I want to do with the things I need to do. If I do two things off of the I need to do list, I can reward myself with two things off of the I want to do list. This keeps me, it's totally internal. Nobody knows I'm doing it, but it keeps me motivated and moving forward. I love a good reward system, and there are so many things that I want to do. And I know that I will enjoy them more if I've done the things that I need to do than if I just blow them off and go do the things I want to do. It makes me feel like I've earned the right to do the things I want to do instead of just blowing off the things I need to. So that's my little lesson in releasing procrastination. And I can really affirm it is so worth doing. It changes the way I live. Okay, so now we are at the last day of this week of Lent, Saturday, March 29th, and here we had the opportunity to release distraction. This article was written for us by the Reverend Carolyn Warneman. I think I mingled that last name, sorry. And here we go. I release distraction. Did you know that our minds are hardwired for distraction? Our nature is to crave being pulled away from this task at hand and experiencing the gratification of change. We need not be victims of minds that wander. A profound human birthright is the gift of choice. We have the choice to let go of distraction and focus on what we really want. Our deepest desire is to connect with our higher power and experience the fullness of each moment. We can set ourselves up for success by adopting strategies to block distraction. This takes commitment and a willingness to practice in a different way. It demands the intention to set up a distraction-free environment, to prioritize and to ignore what pulls us away from our priorities. When we practice intention, we reclaim our attention and create a richer life. Today, we release distraction. Our scripture is Proverbs 4:25. Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. And our affirmation is today I am present with each moment, savoring the fullness of life. And I can say that the best way I have for releasing distraction is mindfully being fully present in whatever it is I'm doing or working towards. What do you say, Kathy?
In regards to distraction, I recently attended a class, and it was about do you own your stuff or does your stuff own you? And it really was focusing on people that are hoarding or hanging on to things that, no longer is needed. And, it's like as you get older, it's time to let go of these things. But the interesting thing that I learned is we know about attention deficit for children, but she talked about seniors' attention deficit. And it was about distractions that seniors will all of a sudden say, oh, I want to start doing this. And they get all the materials and things and get in this little project doing that. And then that gets unfinished. And then they get into something else. And she talked about that a lot of like the stuff that owns you was all these unfinished projects that you were distracted by. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I'd like to do this. And you have all these or things that you started collecting, and then they got put off into a corner. So part of the things she talked about was focusing on adult onset of attention deficit, and is that we sort of we want to do something, but then we get bored, and then we get distracted and going to something else. But I want to say my biggest distraction for me is that I just want to. I figure after all those years I worked and had to be on the go, I just want to veg. And it's just okay. I don't want to be going and doing and having, I just want to veg. And if that means, watching Hallmark movies, or if that means playing the games on my, Kindle, or, it's just, I don't want to have to be busy doing things. It's like I did those for so many years. And, but that's a distraction. Those are distractions for me, where all of a sudden I look and go, I've been up for 4 hours and haven't even gotten showered and dressed because I've just vegged. And so it is sort of like, what are the things that are distracting me away from doing the things that are going to be fulfilling to me? It's like sometimes that distraction takes me away from it. So I like the affirmations, today I'm present with each moment, savoring the fullness of life. I think I've let so much life pass me by when I'm vegging. So it's like I want to affirm that I'm going to be present for each moment and doing something that is fulfilling for me and not being distracted by other things. So those are my thoughts in wrapping up this week. So Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. And we would like to thank you, our viewers. We are so enjoying sharing this Lent season with you. We appreciate any and all comments. If you have missed a week, they're available to you at the Unity Church of El Cajon website or on YouTube. We hope that you will tune in next week as we continue our journey through Lent of spiritual growth and rebirth. Thanks for being with us. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which list all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.